It all started on a rainy autumn afternoon in the small town of Willow Creek, where the leaves clung desperately to the branches as if mirroring my own reluctance to let go of the past, and I, Emily Harper, a 32-year-old graphic designer with a penchant for nostalgia, found myself knee-deep in the cluttered attic of my grandmother's old Victorian house that had stood sentinel on Elm Street for over a century, its creaking floors and peeling wallpaper holding echoes of laughter and whispers long faded into silence. But now, with Grandma Eleanor gone just 3 months prior after a sudden heart attack that left our family reeling in disbelief, I was tasked with sorting through her belongings, a duty that felt both therapeutic and torturous as I sifted through boxes filled with yellowed letters, antique jewelry, and forgotten knickknacks that each carried a fragment of her essence, the woman who had been the pillar of our family, raising my mother single-handedly after Grandpa's early death in a factory accident when Mom was just 5, and then stepping in to help with me and my siblings when our parents' busied lives pulled them away, her gentle hands always ready with a warm hug or a wise word. But as I pushed aside a stack of old quilts that smelled faintly of lavender, her favorite scent, a small, locked wooden chest caught my eye, tucked in the farthest corner beneath a layer of dust so thick it seemed deliberate, as if she had wanted it hidden from prying eyes, and curiosity gnawed at me like an insistent itch, prompting me to fetch the rusty key from her bedside drawer downstairs where she kept her most cherished items, and upon returning, my hands trembled slightly as I inserted the key, the lock clicking open with a sound that resonated like a long-held secret finally exhaling, revealing inside not gold or heirlooms, but the single leather-bound diary, its cover cracked and embossed with faint gold lettering that read Eleanor's private thoughts, 1945 to 1980, and my breath caught in my throat because Grandma had always claimed she wasn't one for journaling, dismissing the idea with a laugh whenever I suggested she write down her stories, saying her life was too ordinary for such things. Yet here it was, a tangible contradiction that sent a shiver down my spine, and as I sat cross-legged on the attic floor, the rain pattering against the window like impatient fingers, I opened the diary to the first page, the ink slightly faded but still legible, and the words poured out like a confession. Dear Diary, today I begin my second life, one shrouded in shadows, for the sake of those I love, and I felt a pang of confusion mixed with intrigue, wondering what could have prompted such dramatic words from the woman I knew as the epitome of normalcy, baking cookies for church bake sales and tending her rose garden with meticulous care. But as I turned the pages, the entries unfolded a narrative that shattered my perceptions, starting with her early years in post-World War II America, where as a young woman of 22, fresh out of secretarial school, she had fallen deeply in love with a charming soldier named Robert, my grandfather, whom she met at a victory dance in 1946, their whirlwind romance leading to marriage within months. But the diary revealed a twist I never knew. Robert wasn't just a soldier, he had been involved in covert operations during the war, and upon returning, he confided in Eleanor about lingering threats from enemies he had made overseas, shadowy figures who might seek revenge, and to protect her, he urged her to live a quiet life. But Eleanor, fierce and protective even then, decided she couldn't sit idly by, and so she secretly trained herself in basic espionage techniques, borrowing books from the library under false pretenses and practicing codes in the dead of night, all while maintaining the facade of a devoted housewife. And as I read on, my eyes widening with each revelation, I learned how in 1950, when Robert was killed not in a factory accident as we'd been told, but in a suspicious car crash that a diary suggested was orchestrated by those past foes, Eleanor vowed to uncover the truth, embarking on a double life where by day she was the grieving widow raising her daughter, my mother, with Poison Grace, attending PTA meetings and volunteering at the local hospital, but by night, she delved into a world of intrigue, forging connections with underground informants and even assuming false identities to infiltrate circles that might hold clues to Robert's murder, her entries detailing heart-pounding moments like the time she posed as a journalist to interview a suspected agent at a gala, her dress concealing a hidden recorder, her smile masking the terror in her heart as she navigated conversations laced with double meanings, and the emotional toll it took. Pages stained with what I imagine were tears as she wrote of missing bedtime stories with my mother, lying to friends about late-night bridge games when she was actually decoding messages in a dimly lit basement, the constant fear of exposure gnawing at her soul, yet her love for her family fueled her resolve, and as the chapters of her life unfolded in ink, I felt a swell of admiration mixed with sorrow, realizing how she sacrificed her own peace for our safety, protecting us from dangers we never knew existed, and the diary chronicled her successes, like piecing together evidence that led to the quiet arrest of Robert's killer in 1962, a man tied to a foreign syndicate, but she never saw credit, burying the truth to avoid drawing attention, instead channeling her energy into normalcy. Yet the double life lingered, with occasional relapses when old threats resurfaced, such as in 1975 when she received an anonymous letter warning of renewed interest in Robert's case, prompting her to don another disguise and travel to a nearby city under the guise of visiting a sick relative, where she confronted a former associate in a tense cafe meeting, her words carefully chosen to extract information without revealing her hand, and the entry described her racing heart, the sweat on her palms, the overwhelming relief when she returned home unscathed, but also the guilt of deceiving her growing family, including me as a toddler, oblivious to the grandmother who read me fairy tales while harboring secrets that could fill novels. And as I absorbed these words, the attic seemed to close in, the rain outside intensifying as if weeping for the burdens she carried alone, and I paused at the midpoint of the diary, my own tears blurring the pages, wondering how much more there was to uncover, how this forgotten relic was rewriting the history I thought I knew, pulling me deeper into Eleanor's world of shadows and sacrifices, a testament to a love so profound it bent the rules of ordinary life. And I couldn't stop now, the hook of her story reeling me in further, eager yet apprehensive for what the remaining entries held. Continuing from where the diary left off in the late 1970s, Eleanor's entries grew more introspective, revealing the deepening cracks in her dual existence as the weight of secrets pressed heavier on her aging shoulders. And I, still perched in that dusty attic with the storm raging outside like a symphony to her turmoil, turned the pages with the reverence born of newfound respect, discovering how in 1980, the year one turned 5 and began forming vivid memories of her as the doting grandma with silver hair and kind eyes, she faced her greatest challenge yet, a resurgence of the old syndicate, now evolved into a modern network of espionage that threatened not just her past but our present family, prompted by a leaked document that mentioned Robert's name, and Eleanor, ever the protector, slipped back into her shadow self, this time with more sophistication, utilizing emerging technologies like early personal computers to track leads anonymously, her diary detailing late-night sessions in the garage she converted into a makeshift operations room, hidden behind shelves of canning jars and gardening tools, where she typed encrypted messages to contacts she had nurtured over decades, all while maintaining the illusion of a retired widow enjoying quilting and bridge clubs. But the emotional layers peeled back raw as she confessed the isolation, the nights she lay awake questioning if the double life was worth the erosion of her soul, yet affirming that every deception was a shield for her daughter and grandchildren. And as I read, my heart ached imagining the grandma I knew wrestling with such demons, her smiles at family dinners masking the adrenaline from covert meetings, like the one in 1982 where she traveled to Chicago under the alias Margaret Thorne, a fabricated identity complete with forged documents she had mastered creating years prior, to meet a whistleblower in a crowded diner, the tension palpable as she described scanning the room for tales, her hand steady on a coffee cup while her mind raced through escape plans, and the information gleaned that the syndicate was targeting descendants of wartime operatives sent chills through me, realizing how close danger had lurked to our oblivious lives, prompting Eleanor to orchestrate subtle protections, such as influencing my mother's career move to a safer town without ever revealing why. Her entries laced with poignant reflections on the cost of love, how she watched us play in the yard, her heart swelling with joy yet breaking at the lies that separated us, and the diary shifted tones in the mid-1980s, as Eleanor's health began to falter, subtle mentions of fatigue and doctor's visits interspersed with her unrelenting vigilance, culminating in a climactic entry from 1987 where she confronted the syndicate's leader in a high-stakes rendezvous at an abandoned warehouse, armed only with evidence she had compiled over years, her words dripping with defiance as she negotiated a truce, threatening mutual destruction if they didn't back off, and the success of that encounter, detailed in trembling handwriting, marked the end of her active double life, allowing her to retire the shadows and embrace full-time grandmotherhood. but not without scars. The diary's final pages overflowed with regrets and redemptions, confessions of moments she wished she could have been fully present, like my 10th birthday party where she excused herself early for a headache that was actually a panic attack from residual fears, yet she expressed profound gratitude for the family she safeguarded, ending with a heartfelt plea, "If you, dear reader, are my kin, forgive the deceptions, they were born of love, not malice." And as I closed the diary, tears streaming down my face in that now still attic, the rain having subsided to a gentle drizzle, I understood the hook that had drawn me into the woman I mourned wasn't just Grandma Eleanor, she was a hero in disguise, her double life a tapestry of sacrifice that wove our family's safety, and in that moment, holding the forgotten diary, everything I knew shattered, but in its place bloomed a deeper love, a realization that her lies had saved us all, tying back to the profound truth that some secrets are the ultimate expression of devotion, leaving me forever changed.